Hey everyone, Rob here from Gamilyf, and today we're taking you through how to create a great power for your players. Now this is a feature that comes with the Gamilyf app. Using our app, you can actually create special powers that players can use once they reach a certain level of progression within the game. So what are powers exactly? Well, once they're used from within the app, they will have a certain effect, and this can be facilitated by the admins, people such as you, in order to make sure that the power actually works. Now on the screen here we've actually got an example power that we used during our piloting in a secondary school. And this has been very successful, and we'll take you through how it works and why it was as successful as it was. Now the power is called Rewind, and it allows players to figuratively rewind time to revisit an earlier time in the last 2 days and replay the event that they chose. They unlocked it at level 3 and it had a cooldown period of 3 days. So what that means is they had to play the game until they reached the 3rd level, and once they used this power, this is the cooldown, it means that they couldn't use it again for about 3 days. In which case it becomes unlocked on their device and they can use it again. So what made this power so successful? Well, the powers that worked best were the ones that could be used autonomously. That is, the player can decide to use it pretty much at any time with very little restriction. We also found that the more successful powers balanced the idea of the cooldown being accessible and scarce. So for example, if we had the power Rewind, and we had the cooldown set to a period of say 30 days, so they could use it once per month, what you'll actually find is that players tend to use these powers quite a lot less. And often a power like Rewind is useful, and we want it to be used reasonably frequently. So lowering the cooldown to a point where it's scarce enough so they'll choose not to just abuse it or use it anytime that they wish, and instead choose to meter out their powers in a way that is constructive and useful to them. Now the wording in this power is quite simple. We would however say that if you were making other powers yourself, that you would be specific in your wording. This is key to ensuring that powers aren't used in unintended or potentially disadvantageous ways. For example, you might say that if a power could be used in a school setting, you might be able to say at what times. You might be able to say that the power could only be used at lunchtime or recess, and not during class time. So how did players use Rewind? Well, often it was used in our pilots as a substitute for punishment. So players who are enrolled in the Gamilyf app would go through their usual school day, and if they found themselves in a position where they were in trouble, they had the opportunity to use Rewind. And when they used Rewind, they were asked to essentially demonstrate a better behavior than what they exhibited the first time. And this gave them the ability to practice and rehearse better behavior, which essentially replaced the bad behavior. If you're familiar with psychology, it's actually very similar to CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, replacing undesirable behavior with desirable behavior. As such, Rewind was actually one of our most successful powers, and most students enrolled in the app used it very frequently. As a result, we also found that students were less likely to get into trouble, and there was less undesirable behaviors in the classroom. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.